There's Jennifer Altabeth.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Welcome. I think everyone's in. Everyone's in. Okay. So, the Zoom rules. If you are not on the panel, please keep your mics muted because we have a lot of people here. We were able to pull a lot of folks from the cast. So, it's going to be a really good discussion. So I just want to welcome everyone again to our happy hour series. It took a little break, but I'm so excited to have you all back here again. This evening, we brought back Joe Farrell again because we just love him so much. He directed the 2014 production of the Rocky Horror Show along with our cast, and we do have a few folks from our artistic team. But before we start, I do want to just open our hearts out to Nigeria because those people are going through it with SARS. There's also stuff going on in Thailand because there's a lot of turmoil over their democratic rights. There's just so much stuff happening in the world today. And this is just a moment in time right before the debate to just take some time just to enjoy, breathe, and just feel the joy. Okay? So Joel, just kick it off.
Hi, everyone. I hope you have a cocktail in your hand. I do. I have a glass of wine and a shot glass because I was watching politics up till we all got on board because I like to be really calm for happy hour. Hey, I think what would be great is first of all, those of you that remember this cast in costume, you may be having a hard time recognizing them out of costume. So I'm just going to ask folks to introduce themselves. I still think we may have a couple of people coming, but Dan Dominich is with us all the way from, where are you? Are you in New York City?
Yeah, I'm on Long Island right now, yeah.
How is Long Island?
Long Island it's Long Island.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming out here. Everyone's leaving the city because there's not much going on there.
It's all the rage. Dan played Frank in Furter, you may recall, and lives in legend, but I still think there are people who have no idea what he actually looks like. So this is what he actually looks like in real life. Stunning, but it's a different kind of beauty. And let's see, who else have we got? Ryan Patrick McLaughlin, who was an SMU student who probably didn't know what he was signing up for. That's not true. He was already a jaded old timer when he did it. Ryan, tell us where you are and who you played.
Hi, I am in Washington, D.C., where I live now, and I played one of the Phantoms, or as we called me, Sexy Lederhosen Boy.
Sexy Lederhosen Boy. He was hired for German. Ryan, tell everybody what you're doing in D.C.
I work at Studio Theater Company. I switched more into producing roles, so I'm the manager of strategic advancement at Studio Theater in Washington, D.C.
I have said many times, although Ryan may not know this, that I hope he was going to run a theater one day, and as it turns out, that's probably true, and I'm very happy about that. A smart human being and right and left brain balance. All right, Alex Organ, who is in mid-swig, remind us who you played.
Excuse me. I play Brad, and I'm just here in boring old Dallas. Still.
There you go. I have
actor.
expected when you said I played Brad for people to shout out the appropriate terminology, but they didn't. So either they're muted or people are being nice, which I think is completely okay. Morgan Mabry, are you actually there?
I'm here.
Yeah, oh my God. I love it so much. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm seeing you. Okay, Morgan, remind them who you played.
I played Janet.
Yeah, damn it.
Yep, damn it.
And I just have to say that since we saw, there's Damn It Janet from Jeff Heald, since we saw Morgan, she moved to New York. She has a thriving career. She is married. I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to drag her back onto stage, but I'm still planning on it. if there's any possible.
Yes, I'm
And,
ready. I'm ready.
I'm so that has to happen. All right, hold on. I'm looking down. So, Ani Salisa Vera, remind us. You look amazing. I haven't seen you since you had reams of hair. You look fabulous. How's life?
Good. I'm doing good. Yes, everything's great. Moving.
Remind us who you were.
I was one of the phantoms. I was the equestrian dominatrix. I was the one with a big saddle.
Listen, I have no idea how we came up with that costume for her. I'm still very happy about it, and I feel certain.
Wade.
I feel certain there's some sort of underground. Wade LaWasson here is how we did that. I feel certain there's some sort of underground website devoted just to Ani's character from Rocky
Really?
Horror, but best we don't investigate that. But I'm so glad to see you. All right, I'm going to go to Walter Lee. Hi, mister. How are you?
Hi. I'm
Alright.
good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad to see your face. Remind us who you played.
I played Columbia.
So, other than Dan, this may be the hardest person for you guys to recognize, but if Columbia was most of the show in a fabulous green, I don't even know how to explain it. It's sort of like
The cage. The cage.
a
That's what I
high
call
fashion
it.
cage. There you go. And let's see who else do we have? Okay, I'll get to creative staff here in a minute. Do we have any other of our? I think that's it for the moment of cast. We'll see if like Julie Johnson may be joining us. I also want to say that there are two people here, Amanda Hendrickson and Chris Spencer, who are the goddesses of. Oh, good. There's Jeff Bragalone, who I have a story to tell about. The goddesses of all things costume at Dallas Theater Center for quite some time now. And so I want them to introduce themselves and tell you which costume they had the most fun or the least fun working on, but probably most fun will be good. Amanda, you go first.
Let's see, we did this show in 2014. There's probably still glitter on me from this show.
Yeah.
I know there's still glitter in the costume shop.
Yeah.
No, I got to make the Columbia cage corset, which Wade, our costume designer, was inspired by Madonna's Gautier comb bra. And that was just a week of measuring tape and a stapler and some trim and breaking sewing machine needles right, left, and center. And I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Heartbeat.
And I'm only going to introduce myself now as Goddess of All Things Costume. Joel has said that's my title now.
Just true.
So I'm going to need that. Somebody tell Amy Lacey that it needs to be changed in all programming from now on.
That's how you and Chris Marie Spencer are like the goddess sisters of all things. You know where Jimmy Hoffa is buried, so you might as
buried
well
most of them.
Chris Marie Spencer, where are you? Are you there?
I'm right here.
Tell us.
Hello.
Tell us your title. I guess I should say.
It's much fancier than it should be. I'm the associate costume director. And I shopped this show. I didn't get to build a whole lot, but I shopped it. So Wade would say, find me, or can we find, or Liz's shoes with a fish in the heel. It was madness.
Yeah.
Madness.
Ani's shoes alone weren't actually shoes, they were hooves. And I thought, oh, I wonder if these will catch on. And I bet they didn't, because Ani can tell you that walking in them for 5 minutes is literally a dominatrix nightmare. So that
They weren't that bad. They were very structured, and you're feeling like you're in a big platform, so it doesn't really, you don't feel like you're floating. But it was along like the last week of shows, last 2 weeks, where I think I was just cramped city, like calves, heels, arches. It was just I think we had to run during one of the intermissions to go get flat boots because my feet were just cramping.
You were gnarled. You were the full Dak Prescott nearly. It was rough. We asked a lot of our performers. Okay, I'm also going to introduce, you all know John Slauson, who is our god of props or goddess of props, whichever whatever on any day. So hey, will you tell us the most fun prop you made for the show? You're muted. Hold please. She's holding. Okay, now you're definitely muted. You have not plugged things in.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Now we got
Great.
you.
I was planning on just being an observer, but you asked me a question, so now I got to get a mic on.
Now you got to get a mic on.
It's all good. How family friendly do you want me to be with this answer?
Oh wow. Sorry, I guess I hadn't pondered what all the answers would be. I don't know. I don't think you have to be family friendly. We all know the show.
I built an almost 4-foot long silver bullet vibrator for the show.
That's right.
And it was spectacular.
Why didn't we auction things off at the end of the show? Jennifer Altabeth, let this be a lesson to us all. We could have doubled revenue on this show. You also made a giant cocaine snorter.
I made a giant machine that sucked cocaine. I also worked on a cage that was shaped like a ball that trapped one of our actors for 20 minutes until we released him. There was all kinds of crazy. That ball is still hanging in my shop, and people do not believe I put an almost 6-foot tall actor in it.
I know. Listen, and thank God that was the kind of actor who actually thought that was fun. So that's good. All right. So listen, I'm gonna tell one quick story, and then I'm gonna open it up truly to like questions and tales from the people, because I saw the show 3 times, I guess. 3 times. I had to see a midnight show, so I saw a midnight show. But the cast lived it every performance. The Bragalones were there at least 3 times, I think. So my quick story is that at the meet and greet, I challenged everyone that was there, board, everybody, to come in drag for opening night, and I could feel the butts clench all through the room. Specifically Kevin Moriarty, who did not come in drag. Although I think he worried about it for a while. I just want to say that many people did, and the Bragalones, Jeff and Mickey, came in complete Rocky Horror drag, making me incredibly, incredibly happy. And the night that we had opening night, I too was in drag, and we had an opening night dinner before with all the glitterati there. And there happened to be 2 consultants who were the major headhunters, Steve Albert and Tom Hall, that are the consultants that find all the new artistic leaders around the country for all the major theaters. And I didn't know them that well, and I didn't know they were there. And after, they came up to me and said that my speech had been inspirational in a way that nearly brought them to tears. And now to this day, every time they put me up for a job, every time Tom Hall wants me to do a job, the first thing he tells whatever theater is about hearing me give a speech in complete drag with half of the board in drag on opening night of Rocky Horror. And I just want to point out, I have not gotten any of those jobs. So there you go. Let that be a lesson to you.
I don't know if you can see, that's a picture of Joel in drag giving the speech.
I'm like, listen, what you can't tell is my lashes were the best thing about, and thank you, Jeff. You were fabulous looking too. I have burned all pictures, but that's good. Dan Dominic
was when
go ahead.
During the show actually came by and sort of interacted with us. That made it for me. That was very memorable.
And by interact, you mean was inappropriate, because that's really
he talked to Jeff the whole play.
That's what we encouraged him to do. Well, many friends were made. I love it. Well, and that said, I just want to say that
here's the Denton High School patch that I wore to opening night dinner.
Was that your version of drag, John Howell?
Well, it had some other accoutrement. I was Brad. I was a pretty good Brad.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
with a Denton High School patch.
And now in chorus, they can all say what you say whenever Brad.
That's right.
Whenever his name is mentioned.
You know what's funny, John, is not people remember that Denton was like actually a major inspiration. I mean, these were Brits after all that wrote it, and they had been to North Texas, and for some reason they thought Denton was a hysterical name for a place. And I'm like, go figure the Brits. So that's how Denton made it into that show, which is really insane. Hey, I want to open it up to the cast to tell some stories, but I'm also going to say that you are welcome, any of you, to ask any questions. I'm gonna ask Mercedes and Robin to help me. So if you've got, wave your hand or just blurt in if you want to ask.
Yeah, you could definitely raise your hand, and I can see it in the chat box, so I'll be able to pop over. But can I just say, Mickey and Jeff, those hats, those wigs, I just love you guys so much.
No, I'm like, they have done it.
You have to dress up for this.
They've done it yet again. All right, hey, I'm going to go to Dan Domenech because Dan, I just quickly, I want to remind everybody that, you were our sole New Yorker. Like almost everybody else was like, if they weren't literally like a DTC company member or an SMU student or, Julie Johnson. So you were the brand new to Texas. And you had done like Angel and Rent and that kind of thing. But I remember distinctly from the auditions, you were the single and only human being that did not dress in any drag whatsoever.
Wait, I can't remember if the audition happened when it was summer. Do you remember what time of year it was? It might have been because it was.
That is a great question. I think it was definitely warm weather because, everybody was coming in but everybody came in a bit of drag or whatever. And you were too lazy, a son of a bitch.
I was lazy. I'll just say it. I was lazy.
Do anything. And so literally when it was time to hire you, I literally remember making contact either to you or your agent to just find out if you actually thought you could walk in extraordinarily high platform heels, because it was the only thing I was worried about, because I'm like, he came in sneakers to the damned audition. So I have no idea whether this is going to be okay. So hey, what tell us about just like showing up in Dallas and meeting everyone and starting rehearsals. Like what was that about?
Well, the crazy thing was when I came up on the Wiley Theater, I had realized that I had seen it in a magazine just a couple of years before that, and thinking that was a place I wanted to work because I heard of all the technological advances that were happening there, and I was like, that's awesome. I would love to work in a place like that. And I just didn't put two and two together until we came up on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the place. And then we got up to that rehearsal studio, and it's just the way it's all laid out there. It's just a performer's dream. And everyone it just felt like every other, big budget professional production that you do, where people show up ready to work and ready to start playing and figuring out what's going to look best on stage. And there was a extraordinary amount of trust between the actors and the creative team. It's like that bar got set real high after that show.
Things came together. I will say that the projection live camera feed portion of the show was on an extremely small budget. We literally just handed a camera to Cheney and had her I was like, you roam around any place you want to go. Nobody can tell you can't go take your camera and put it in someone's nostril. And boy, did she. And then we had to translate that when we got to the theater to a 2-story set with a giant, it was good. But I think one of the unsung heroes of the show is Cheney, because she was on a wired camera and she weaved her way through the show. And I'm like, normally moving cords and high heels do not go together, but somehow the skill level managed to make us live. Hey, Dan, what was so of all once we were in performance, right? I don't think you, I mean, you've done rock and roll shows. I mean, you've done shows where the audience is like wildly lively, but like what was there a biggest surprise or a weirdest moment?
Yeah, every time we did the time warp reprise at the end, and you looked out and you saw all the toilet paper, all the props, people hanging over the sides of the balconies, dancing, the lights were going. I've never felt that immersed in a live performance before. It was it really bumps up the energy level.
It is sort of that rare place where like theater and weird rock concert actually merge, which is actually what the originators wanted it to be like, and maybe it was actually originally in London, and then we sort of, you know, it's not that anybody sanitized it, it's just that they don't have the Wiley Theater and a giant staircase shaped like a penis. So, you know, you can only get so wild until you're in the round. So, okay, so I'm going to go to Alex and where are you, Morgan Mabry? I'm going to go to you guys because there is nothing more challenging, lest we forget, there's nothing more challenging in a production of Rocky Horror than playing Brad and Janet. You know, the asshole and the slut. Let's just say it out loud. They're, you know, you walk into it. I always equate it to being like, you know, in professional wrestling when they're very clearly is the hero and very clearly is the bad guy, and you're like, wow, they are not paying me enough to do this. So, and they start out the show like you guys are on very early on, squirt with the whole audience with squirt guns in their hands. So, Morgan, I'll start with you. What was the weirdest moment early on, just in terms of surviving the onslaught?
I had so many weird but amazing moments in this show. I feel like I entered that rehearsal experience like a girl, and then I left, and I was just at the end of it. I was like, I'm a queen. I'm a queen now.
Yeah.
You
had survived the gauntlet. You absolutely had. You really had. Like it was wild. Do you remember opening night? Do you remember like the first preview? What was that like?
Exhilarating. Probably the closest I've ever felt to like being a pop star, like Lady Gaga moment.
Yeah.
But with Brad and Janet, we had to really like, what I learned through the preview process and all of that is we had to, try to get the audience on our side. Yeah. But it was the most fun performing experience of my entire life and taught me so much about myself, and just really like was the catalyst to living my life for myself and not for other people. And that was a huge lesson in my life.
I will say too that you had not performed at Dallas Theater Center, so I just want to remind everybody that when you're a talented local actor, but you haven't worked in a giant space like the Wiley, and then the first time you work there, people are screaming "slut" en masse and throwing objects at you. It is quite the trial, and I have to say, Morgan, I'm sure you can figure this out but she is the most unbelievably open-hearted spirit ever. But yeah, I do remember you sort of like, I remember seeing the moment where you were like, I so have this. Like, I will conquer them all. Like, because you have to have right? It's like doing improv or something. I mean, you have to have a little bit of a like, I can take you bitches, so don't try it. I mean, you have to have some of that. And you did.
It was that moment in my life too, like just not on stage, but me as a person. And it's just something I will cherish for the rest of my life. And going from Les Mis, the show right before that I was in with Alex and
of course, right? You did the header, right? You did you went from Lethal Comics Les Mis into wow.
But Rocky was just so different that it was like a completely different experience. So just unforgettable. Completely just I'm going to
do a sing-along Les Mis sometime that feels much more like Rocky Horror. So you and I
let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. Come on. Everybody knows the words. We might as well do it. All right, I'm going to go to Alex Organ, who I just have to say was the only person that actually just outright said to me, this thing is going to go out of control, and I would like to know what the plan is when it goes completely out of control. And my memory is that my response was, oh, it will go out of control, and I have no plan whatsoever. Enjoy. So I will ask Alex to. I mean, first of all, he was long since a company member by that point. And Alex, you had just done Les Mis too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, among the myriad of things you've done, you had just done Liesl Tommy's, I mean, let's call it precedent-setting production of Les Mis, which was a mammoth undertaking. And then, directly from the frying pan into the fire. So what's your favorite story?
I have no memories. It's just a wash of abuse and PTSD.
Yeah.
No, I had a good time. Don't believe anything you hear. I remember really specifically that there was a big difference, and you could feel it within the first 10 or 15 seconds when we had a group in the audience that was one of the groups that goes to see and participates in the movie every week.
Yeah.
Because there was kind of a baseline level of abuse for a normal audience. And then when you had the pros in there, it was just a free-for-all. And those nights you really felt like you were holding on for dear life, like it could go off the rails. But there's a lot of fun to be had in that as well.
Well, it's sort of like improv gone berserk. I mean, there's not many instances. I mean, we literally sold the bags of stuff for people to throw, because I had learned a long time ago that that's if you're in any way concerned about a revenue shortfall, sell people cheap toilet paper and squirt guns, and you can make that money up. So John Slauson, did you go find all of the squirt guns and that we sold?
I had absolutely nothing, thank the Lord
Wow.
above, to do with any of that. That was all our marketing and front of house staff, and
Brad and his team at the time.
Yep,
right?
that was that whole team, and I was really glad I didn't have anything to do with that.
Well, I will say that we did have leaf blowers at the ready, because my only plan, and it came true, was that at intermission, if the stage was so cluttered we could not function, then Squeak Henderson would come out. Actually, I told Dan that he could at any moment stop the proceedings and just order that everything be cleaned up in case we could not function any longer. But Squeak would come out at intermission while everyone else was getting drinks, of which they tended to a lot on this show, the audience, and hurl all of the toilet paper back into the audience, so that it was sort of like a turnabout is fair play. And he had a lot of fun doing that. Now, I want to point out that Chambly Ferguson, on the other hand, who is a recycler, would collect all of the used rolls of toilet paper and took them home to his lovely wife, Lynn Blackburn, and used them. And that toilet paper lasted about a year and a half. So he's not here to tell us that story. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, yes, he did use all of that used toilet paper. And I applaud that. I'm proud of it. Hey, I want to ask Ryan McLaughlin. Ryan, you were an SMU student. What year were you? Were you in senior year, junior year?
That was, oh my God, what year was it? 2014?
2014, which seems
I was a senior.
You were a senior. And did you already know Rocky Horror pretty well?
I did. So I grew up in St. Pete, Florida, and there's this little place called the Beach Theater, which is near the beach and almost the theater. But what it's most known for are the midnight showings of Rocky Horror. So I have this seminal memory of being too young, like 11.
Way too young.
Going to a midnight showing, wait for it, with my mother.
Wow.
And yeah, she was dragged there, you could say, by a friend.
Okay.
And having my world just rocked. I was like, what is happening? I don't think I'm supposed to be here. So Rocky Horror was pretty important in my life, oddly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, if I'd seen Rocky Horror at 11, things would be even worse than they currently are for me. So, I mean,
it explains a lot about me. I've got to be honest. If the shoe fits, honey, you wear it.
I have to say, it really does. Actually, I'm like, okay, hey, I'm going to switch to. I'm going to go to Walter Lee, because if you don't know this, Walter Lee has an alter ego that is a stunningly fabulous performer, Jada Pinkett Fox. And so this was not actually the first time that Walter Lee had performed in fabulous female accoutrement, because he was one of the Kit Kat girls in Cabaret. He has performed as all genders on our stage. He's the man of a million human incarnations. But I just want to say, hey, Walter Lee, it's so interesting, because it was sort of like, I have never seen Columbia not be like literally, biologically a woman. So I'm sure there's precedent. I don't know of any. I knew I wanted you to do it from right off the bat. So I think, as I recall, did I just call you and say, hey, come do it? Or what?
Yes.
I did, right?
You gave me the music for Rocky, actually, the first time, which I thought was strange, because I was like, what?
You can play anything.
Yeah, but then eventually you're like, hey, I would want you to come do Columbia, which I thank you for that, because that helped me realize my own situations and things with like where I want my life to go as far as my gender is concerned. So that helped me completely. So I applaud you guys doing this damn show, period, because it just helped me a lot with everything.
That makes me so incredibly happy, but I do have to say that I have never seen a better Columbia ever, and I've seen a lot of them. And what's really impressive to me is that I decided, listen, this is bad, but I was like, the scenic design was sort of like just the giant obstacle course from hell. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a center giant second-story platform and curving staircases that led to it, and the whole thing spun. Just to make it even more treacherous. And I just remember thinking, between you and Ani, that I had never seen two people in shoes that I can't even stand up in, like traverse those stairs in like seconds. And I kept thinking, well, so one of them is going to turn to me and go like, listen, I cannot make it up 20 stairs on a moving platform in 6-inch heels that fast. And yet you did not say that. You just sort of did it. And Dan Domenech too, who, by the way, considering he auditioned in sneakers, you lazy dick, was pretty amazing. And some of it I think is you can't help but have a good amount of adrenaline doing Rocky Horror. But yeah, there you go.
Well, Alex talks about PSD from his role. Like that center staircase for my entrance was terrifying. To this day. I'm like, oh, how the hell did I do that with no railings until the third or fourth step?
No railings. I don't know what I literally, this is, you live and learn, but I'm like, hey, actors often are just too damn nice. Like, you're like, why any of you didn't say, oh yeah, no, that's not happening. I'm not doing that. But everyone just kept doing it. So I was like, I guess we're okay. Jump over the cord. Okay. Hey, listen, what I'd love to do, Dan, is, so do you remember the guitar moment, right? The smash the guitar moment.
Oh yeah.
For whatever, I just want to give quick context. There's a couple of numbers in the stage version that are not in the movie. And one of them is Brad's really quite beautiful ballad in Act 2. it's really a pretty song, but no one's ever heard it if they've seen the movie. So they're just like, what are you doing to my show? So I just decided that we would give it a go, including Julie Johnson being on auto harp, and then Dan playing the
recorder.
The recorder.
Oh my God.
You forgot, didn't you? You forgot. That was one of John Slosson's most fabulous props. But so I literally just said, I don't remember I think I just said, hey, like if everybody gets restless, just like stop him and smash the thing. It ended up being at about the same place. But then it became a big deal to get the remains of the guitar, because you would sign it and give it to people. And so tell me about that. Were people like, did that get weird at any point? You did have Go ahead.
Oh, there was a definite point where you could tell that people knew that the guitar was gonna get gifted. Yeah. So they would start waving and trying to like make noise and grab your attention. And you know, and then there were people that were saying, "Oh, I have a friend in the audience. Can you give it to them?" And it was a whole thing. But that was one of my favorite theatrical moments ever. Like, how often do you get to do that? There was a new guitar every night to smash.
Smashing Brad's guitar. I know. I always felt like Alex. A little tear would come into his eye.
Yeah.
Like, it's my guitar. Okay, so I just want to say, John Slosson, how many guitars did we have since I said, can we have one for every performance?
Yeah, so we did something like 53 something performances plus tech. So we were at probably 65 guitars. And I want to give a shout out to Alex for playing a beautiful ballad on the world's cheapest guitars.
That's right.
Like, he was playing a beautiful ballad on a $34 guitar. Can
I just ask what unbelievably unfortunate country those came from? Because where did those come
from? I found a supplier online, and like, I remember going to you and saying, I'm going to order all of these because I don't know how long they're going to take to get here, because they're probably shipping from China. So you have to tell me we are doing this.
Yeah.
Because
no,
I have no backup plan. So
you gave me the deadline where you were like, say it now because we're blowing the entire props budget on.
We are spending most of the props budget to ship cheap guitars from China. So
I just want to say to all the board members and kind people who are watching that this is the kind of insanity that sometimes getting to make things at the Dallas Theater you are afforded. Even if you shouldn't be. It made me very happy. I think, and Dan really enjoyed it every night, but it is a little bit insane. There are still remnants of guitars in worlds around. All right, Mickey Bragalone, you have a story. First of all, I want to say the Bragalones came to at least one of the midnight performances. And so I just want to point out that like the midnight performances were a whole notch beyond. And I think, so Mickey, tell us.
That my story actually is from a midnight performance. We came one night, we took a busload of people for a dinner.
Oh, I remember that, the party bus.
So by the time we arrived at the theater, we were not as cognizant of the fact that the rest of the audience was way younger than we were. And we were all in costume. We were mostly the entire cast. And at some point I caught Brad and I said, I want that guitar, thinking that would never happen. And of course I got the guitar. So I'm super proud of the guitar. And after the show, we're down in the lobby and the party bus is waiting. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And I think drunkenly trying to get the cast who was exhausted to come with us and party because, you know, in the way that board members and audiences never understand what you guys have just gone through. We were like, oh, let's keep partying. So I handed the guitar to one of the friends who came with us so that I could go to the ladies' room. And by the time I came back, Jeff and the friend that I had handed it to had given it away to somebody who was at least 2 decades and maybe 3 decades younger than me. And Jeff was punished for that for
bad.
very long time.
I'm still being punished, but in my defense, Dan, you have to understand, I knew that Mickey was going to hang this on the wall.
Oh yeah, I was going to have it put in plexiglass.
Right, yeah.
And
with our art collection.
It was a very nicely done illustration of a penis that was going to be hanging on our wall, and I decided that somebody else could probably use that better than our wall.
Someone younger. Yeah.
Add to that, at the time we had a 14-year-old who was very upset because I wanted to take her to Rocky Horror and her dad thought she was maybe a little bit too young to see.
Wow, Annabelle was 14.
So there was that, are you really going to frame the guitar with the penis and hang it in the house with the 14-year-old? And my answer was yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that is that for the first time, on opening night, I was tamped down a little bit. I followed your instruction and I tried to dress I was very androgynous.
Yes.
But at the midnight show,
yes,
I wore the only time in my life I've ever had on a corset, which I really tried to put on tonight, and sadly I can no longer. I was smaller in 2014 than I am now, or it takes 3 people to put you in one, I think.
And corsets are evil. I mean, they're great. They look great, but they're evil. They're a horrible. Yeah, men invented corsets. Let's be clear, but yeah, they look great.
So that's my guitar story.
I love it. I have to say that Dan got longer in the course of the run, because he would oh my God, now I'm remembering, that bit got really involved. It was like, everyone take a break. Dan is going to sign the guitar now and draw penis pictures on it. I remember that.
Yeah, and there was a technique involved too. I remember the first time we went to break the guitar, it broke. It didn't shatter. It just, the neck separated from the body. So we only had a couple of guitars to practice it with. And then there was a night where it didn't shatter and I started stomping on it and my heel broke off.
It did.
Thank God.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
And thank God we had the extra pair in the back. And then there was like another bit on top of that of everyone, the changing of the heels.
You know what? What's nice is that show can sort of accommodate whatever happens. Mostly, right?
But I'm sorry, I have to take a moment to sing the praises of one Chris Spencer, because she tried to tell all of y'all that she just shopped the show.
Yeah.
What this woman did was buy shoes for everyone multiple times. There were backups on backups. There were trips to the shoe repair. There were heel braces. Keeping people's shoes on their feet, because the shoes were $30 like Phantasma stripper shoes from Amazon. They were not like high quality shoes.
Yeah.
So the work that went into making the shoes survive, and then making sure that everyone had backups for when the inevitable heel snapped off, which happened so frequently.
Which it really did. Jeremy Dumont just kept destroying.
Oh God, Jeremy Dumont was just like murder on his heel.
He is hell on shoes like Stephen Walters is hell on costumes.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Don't get me started on that man.
Yeah.
But yes, y'all, Chris Spencer made sure that no one ever had to do Rocky Horror barefoot.
I want to say, Chris, were you already ordering from Zappos? Was Zappos already?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah, you already. I remember walking into the costume shop one day. There were what seemed like 400 Zappos boxes, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean,
that's not very much of an exaggeration.
That's not very. And it's not so much the Zappos boxes arriving, it's how many of them you have to send back. So if you ever need to ask a question about shipping labels, call Chris Marie Spencer, or don't. She might kill you, because it was very involved. All right, hey, I'd love to open this up to all of you fabulous people who were kind enough to share an hour with us to reminisce about the most inappropriate show ever. Anybody got any questions now is your time to ask inappropriate questions about the inappropriate show. So I'm just I'm encouraging you to be bold and brave.
Well, I have a slightly inappropriate question for one Walter Lee. Do you still have the Columbia corset?
I sure do.
Yes.
Still in my closet.
Because when it came time to like get, like restock the show and all of that, we were all like, it can't go on a hanger. Like, we either make a shrine to it or we just give it to Walter and let him live his best life. And so that was the choice we made. So.
I have seen stunning pictures online of that continuing to have a life, and I'm telling you, Walter Lee keeps a figure, people. I just want you to know. If you, I don't know, I wish I had the discipline that he has. He and Ani and several of the rest of you. Ani, did you keep anything from your costume? You were a good girl and like gave everything back.
I did. If I would have known, I could have kept something. I would have kept the saddle.
You would have kept this. I was going to say somewhere there's a corset with a saddle attached, which I can't.
A saddle with a tail. I would have kept that 100 and like had it still like mounted over my fireplace right now.
Right?
For sure.
Listen, I wait for the day that some new costume person is going through stock and comes across the saddle. So we'll just let them figure out what's going on.
It needs to come back to me. That tail was crazy though. There's still a saying that came through with that. There was one, we were going through intermission and I'm running through the middle of the bleachers and the level back there was off. Like there was that rubber mat that went to the backstage and my little horse hoof got caught on that edge and I fell over and my tail got caught in the wind chimes and it pulled all the wind chimes in like a very quiet time of the show. And it chimed this whole like, sometimes you get your tail caught in a wind chime when something goes wrong.
Sometimes you get your saddle horse tail caught in a wind chime. It's just like, if I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel.
Okay, so I'm truly opening it up. I'm like, I feel certain that that Jeff Heald or Jennifer Altabef, somebody has a question or Jennifer, were you were on the board?
Yes, I was on the board. I think I had no official designation, and deep dark secret, this was the first time I had seen Rocky Horror.
Wow. Did you have any idea what was going on?
I mean, I had some idea, but I had no idea how awesome it was going to be. And that bag of stuff, I was all about that bag of stuff with my toilet paper. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I get another bag of stuff?
Yeah.
It was so great. I'm so glad that the first time I saw it was on stage with you people and not in a movie theater. I waited my whole life to see it. I know I was a virgin. Yes. Jeff just said that to me privately, and now I'm saying it to all of you. Yes. But
Jennifer, I just have to say, first of all, you look amazing, and I know you've had quite the week. So, so glad to see you. And also, I've decided that at the very least, if not all theater, at least all Shakespeare should be done by selling the audience a bag of Rocky Horror things, so they can throw toilet paper and squirt guns, because I'm convinced this is the way Shakespeare wanted things to go. So when I own the universe, toilet paper for everyone at every show. It's just, I mean, you can't actually hurt anyone, and yet it's so satisfying to throw somehow.
And if we had kept it instead of Chambly, we could have sold it for so much money this past year. So,
well, listen, if Dan Domenech ever does the show again, he will know to like start a whole mafia underground with the guitar, and there, people will offer up top dollar that, please deliver a bag of gold to my dressing room, I think. Any questions? Any thoughts?
I'd like to note that the Warnickes aren't here tonight because they're in North Carolina. But at the opening dinner, Don came in complete drag. He wore one of Sarah's costumes. He did outstanding.
He
did. I want to say that Don Warnicke not only came in drag, he was wearing lucite high heels.
Yes.
That apparently were Sarah's, and I said to him, Don, of all the high heels you could have picked, Lucite is like a living nightmare. It's like wearing concrete. Like there's no give. You're just in hell. So I think about halfway through the dinner, he slipped those off and started faking his way through the night, which is utterly reasonable. Anybody else?
I would like to make a suggestion. You know, Halloween is next Saturday. So if you wanted to live stream the show.
Oh my God, Walter Lee. Oh, okay. I'm just going to say
everything.
Listen, do you know how much I would love that? Because I don't really remember it in a real way. I remember it in a director way. And that's a strange thing. Although I did watch a midnight show when I was maybe a little drunk, and that was really fun. You know what? I will ask Robin and Mercedes to pass that right on to the powers that be, because wow, that would be fun. I'm all with you there.
I remember saying,
Jeff.
Yes, to the cast, to the talkback, to Liz, I said, you know what you've done here? You created a new top, and then you went over it. And you did. Of all the productions of that show, it was the most perfect on every single level. It was wonderful. And going back to the toilet paper thing, we did buy that kit. And I put some of it aside. And when all this madness started about the pandemic, we found the toilet paper.
No!
We were so happy because we were getting in a bind at that point, because it's something you never think about not being able to. So, yes, it came back in a really positive way all these years later.
Wow.
To help us in a moment of need. So
I just say I'm gonna let Chambly know the next time I see him that he may have thought he was really smart, but he didn't save any in case of a pandemic. So you nailed him on that. I love that. Oh my gosh. I remember I could not believe the amount of toilet paper, and I'm like, we kill some trees. I'm ashamed to say, but so much of it apparently went to good use. So that is very good news. Hey, Cass, any of you have any other stories, highlights, backstage, anything you would like to share with us, and or creative team?
I know that Chambly was also getting.
I'm gonna tell a story about Chambly, but you go ahead, Dan.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Well, I was just gonna tag on. Like, he is full hunter-gatherer, not just the toilet paper. He was collecting rhinestones. Mm-hmm. He had a dish that was just filling with rhinestones. He knew how to make use of the post-show cleanup time. Chambly, and it was all organized and stacked. It was cool.
What I really hope is there's some fabulous gown that he has that he wears only in secret for him, which could be. He does love a good costume, but yeah,
he is a magpie.
He is.
Chambly was late to rehearsal one day because he had to pull over because he saw a large bolt on the side of the road and wanted to pick it up.
Yeah. No, he used to take all of the used batteries from the microphones because, you have to replace it just in case. And so he had like 3 years worth of like AA batteries at one point that just, yeah. No, he and my brother are the same human being, so I understand it. I applaud it. It's never going to happen for me. Anybody else want to share a story? Amanda?
I'm going to tell a story on Chambly, and that was the very first show for our stitcher at the time, whose name was Melissa Perkins, who was just out of college and an incredibly talented young costumer. But the way that she had heard about Dallas Theater Center was her boyfriend was Alexander Ferguson, Chambly's son.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
So at one point, she was like, I need a project. And I said, oh, here, take this bra and this green spandex and cover the cups in spandex for me, because I was like buried under a mountain of glitter tulle at the time because I was trying to make muscles for finale corsets, and a gown made out of rainbow sequins with like an 18-foot train for one Mr. Dan Dominic to sing Don't Dream It, Be It.
That was quite a trip. Yep.
And she was like, I need a project. I said, here, do this. And she did it. And she's all up in this bra and then says, who is this for? And I said, oh, it's Chambly's.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Her future father.
She was not ready for that.
Yeah.
She was not ready for covering the bra of her boyfriend's dad.
Families come in all shapes.
Welcome to theater. This is not the weirdest costume I've ever made for Chambly.
That's right. I do have to say that not only Chambly and Julie Johnson sort of played opposite each other, right? Because they played Riff Raff and Magenta. And now they have spent a year or so on tour together, doing the national tour of Come From Away. And so it's fascinating because every time you think you're done with us, it all comes back. But both of them have done a lot of improv, and my God, they were a sick couple because they kept inventing things. And I was like, time to stop inventing. You're scaring the children. So, but yeah, I totally forgot that was Melissa's first show. That is awesome. The perfect indoctrination.
She did. She was the one that made Dan's coat for the opening.
The reveal coat. The reveal.
And, yeah. Which we got to pull out when Dan did the gala for us, and
exactly.
God, that's a beautiful costume.
It's
weird, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, that was Wade LaBoissoniere going big or going home. I do also remember that Alex Organ came to me after his costume fitting for the finale costume and was like, if I try to wear those heels and come down that staircase, I will die. And so he had training heels. I know, they were great.
Chris Spencer. Thank you, Chris Spencer.
They totally worked for you, but it was like, okay. It was like, I don't know where those were the ugliest pair of heels I've ever seen, but by God, Chris.
I think if I remember, I had to request a thicker, wider base to the heel. Was the big
We went through a few.
Thicker, wider base.
We got it, and you were in heels, and you looked great.
Yeah. You really did. You pulled it off. Your height works for you, dude. Your height totally works for you. You're long-waisted.
The thing you have to know about Wade LaBoissoniere, who was our costume designer, is he got his start as a chorus member in both Cats and La Cage aux Folles.
That's right.
Before he decided that he was going to go and get a degree and become a costume designer. So he had extremely specific opinions on what people could and could not do in shoes based on his experiences. And sometimes sometimes we had to say, no, Wade, not everybody has spent the past, 6 years being a cat.
Yeah. Or worn 6-inch heels. I'm like, it's just not your average, your daily. I will say that Wade, for everybody that doesn't know, Wade designed the old Christmas Carol, the Christmas Carol that was at the Kalita. So he does, in fact, do beautiful, subtle work, but I had been waiting a long time to let Wade LaBoissoniere do something like Rocky Horror. So that was real joy. And Bob LaValle designed.
So had we.
Yes. And Bob LaValle designed the set, and we have done many, many shows together. And there came a point where Bob LaValle said to me, but you don't really want the staircase to look like a giant penis with 2 balls. And I said, nope, actually, I would really like the staircase to look like a penis with 2 balls. So
and it ejaculated.
Well, it did. It did, in fact, but only for intermission and in celebration of the nuptials. And I think that is okay. That is. Wait a minute, Margaret Wolonsky has entered Margaret, you're late, girl. Let's see where. 10 more minutes. Okay.
Joel, I would love to see you and this cast do something with Kinky Boots. I think y'all could have a glorious time with that show.
Well, Jeff, I think it's a really sweet. I love that show. I guess it's probably gonna come. The rights will start being available for like regional theaters pretty soon because I think the tours have run their course. So, listen. I every time I see a show like Kinky Boots, I'm like, oh dear Lord, 20 years from now, I'm going to be directing that in the regions. So I've just sort of assumed it's coming my way at some point. Get ready, Walter Lee.
Yes. Oh,
right? Yeah. But it's a really sweot show. I mean, it's honestly almost a little hammy, but in a great way. And I'm like, now those boots are, yeah, Dan literally was in the Toronto cast. So speaking of high quality shoes, he got to go from those $30 ones to the real deals up there.
Mm-hmm. I think they were $2,200 a piece. It was crazy. And I think we had 5 separate pairs of heels.
Mickey, you also, you listen, that show took shoes really seriously, but those were made to last. Those babies were like, those were made to go on the road for a few years. So I am envious. Hey, Mickey, you said you have original costume sketches.
So this is one of my prized possessions.
Oh my gosh.
It's from Jennifer as a thank you for board service, but those are some of the original sketches from Wade.
So I remember seeing that.
That is literally Dan's base costume and then his working in the evil laboratory costume. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I have not seen those since Wade first sent me a really funny email full of images. That's fantastic. What a lovely gift.
I'm gonna give them away to some young, like, good-looking guy at intermission at the next show.
No, you're not.
That's right.
The Dallas Theater Center.
Turnabout is fair play. I think that is utterly reasonable. All right. Hey, I know we probably need to wrap up. So honestly, I'm going to say, as much as, believe me, I'm just going to echo Walter Lee and say that a streaming on Valentine of DTC's Rocky Horror would be ever so pleasant. So I'll let Robin pass that on. But I honestly have always felt like this show needs to be like Christmas Carol, like for the week of Halloween, right? We just need to do. So
yes, Lord.
Now that we're going to be at some point in a post-COVID world, we have Annette Strauss. I mean, there are places, right? So I think we need to turn the pressure up to let this be, a heartwarming annual standard, much like Christmas Carol. And right?
Yeah. All my dreams would come true.
Yes.
And then we'll have that same problem where I have to say to Morgan, you were a great Janet, but it's time to be a magenta now. Those hard conversations you have with actors about moving forward.
That would be my goal in life.
Right.
My goal in life.
to work your way to like aging Frankenfurter. That would be awesome. All right. Well, hey, Mercedes, I will turn it back to you, but I'm incredibly grateful. I've only done these twice, but they are really, first of all, it's so great to see everybody's face and hear your voices. And I know we're probably going into a slightly tough winter, but you know what? We got this now. We're like, we can do it. And innovative, amazing, creative things. So I just want to say, next week, some of these people, Alex Organ at least, go into rehearsals for a brand new conceived Christmas Carol called In the Bleak Midwinter. And I am so unbelievably proud of Dallas Theater Center for just continuing to innovate and invent in a time where a lot of theaters are sort of like scared out of their wits. And we all are in many ways, but I'm so unbelievably excited to see that. I truly am like, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for rehearsals, etc. So we're still making art, baby. And one of these days we'll bring back Rocky Horror sans N95 masks. So Mercedes, I pass it back to you.
Yes, thanks, Joe. Oh my God, my face hurts from laughing so hard.
Yeah.
All of the stories. A lot of this stuff was before my time, and I realized a lot of staff members kept hearing about Rocky Horror, and we always said, okay, can we like bring it back? Fans have said bring it back. Members have said, hey, can we just do it one time only? So I feel like we're all in agreement on this. We need to start whispering to people there to kind of make this really happen. But as for the new production, next week we do have another virtual hour, and it's called the virtual happy hour. I believe it's called Creating During the Time of COVID. It actually does center around In Bleak, so the new version of A Christmas Carol. So if most of our members are here or RSVP'd, that is exactly what Kevin will be talking about the making of the new version and trying to recreate it in a new way for post-COVID, new COVID world, whatever.
Now, yeah.
So I had such an amazing time with all of you. Thank you all for just coming and joining us. And just remember to vote. I don't care what party you are, just get up there whenever you can and vote. Okay. Have a good evening, everyone.
Love to you all.
Yes,
thank you.
This was amazing.
So good seeing you guys.
Love you. Bye, Dan.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm leaving here.
Are you
Goodbye.
done?
Bye.
You want to?
Yeah, I do. I went to once. I was trying to get out. Closing it.
Yeah.
I'm still